Dr. Keijo Otsuka, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Why is rice receiving so much attention as a food crop, and how is it special?
I think the fundamental reason is that utmost importance of rice in the world, particularly in the developing world, where the widespread malnutrition still persists. For example, rice at this moment provides well more than 30% of the calorie intake in the developing countries. Moreover, the majority of the poor people depend on rice, either the consumers or producers. And therefore, rice has a major influence on the human nutrition, food insecurity, hunger, and poverty. But such facts alone cannot adequately describe the importance of rice, because rice is a symbol of the culture or cultural identity in many countries. Indeed, the slogan of the International Year of Rice is life. And since Japan has historically developed strong culture based on rice, the Japanese can easily understand the significance of such a slogan.
What as a crop makes rice, say, special rather than, say, wheat or other grains for growth in countries like Africa or developing countries?
Rice is a very suitable crop for tropical climate, unlike wheat. Wheat is good for temperate zones. And at the same time, the maize is quite suitable for Africa, where the temperature is high and rainfall is low. The rice has a special characteristics, that is, rice is grown very well with water. So in the marshy area, the wetland area, the rice is a suitable crop. And rice is becoming very important in Africa because people now are encroaching for the marshy, uncultivated areas.
The UN also made 1965 the Year of Rice, and what was the aim of that project?
The United Nations declared that 1965 was also the International Year of Rice in order to arouse the awareness of the importance of rice, and more importantly because of the growing shortage of rice in Asia, where population grew much faster than rice production. As a matter of fact, in the 1950s and up to the early 1960s, people are really desperate about the future prospects of rice supply and demand balance. And Asia at that time badly needed new breakthrough in technology, which contributed to the increased production of rice.
What happened to rice in the world after that?
Very, very fortunately, the widespread hunger did not take place in Asia because of the Green Revolution, which has taken place since the late 1960s. Green Revolution refers to the development and diffusion of high-yielding varieties of rice, as well as wheat, in Asia, developed initially by such international research organizations as IRRI, International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines. In Asia, owing to the success of the Green Revolution, rice yield per hectare doubled, and rice production tripled from the late 1960s to now. And current rice price is only 1/3 of the level in 1970.
What led to 2004 being made the Year of Rice again?
The Green Revolution unfortunately ended in Southeast Asia in the late 1980s, and it is now ending in South Asia. So in short, rice production is now largely stagnant in Asia. Before the Green Revolution succeeded, some Asian countries like the Philippines and Indonesia were importers of rice. Although these two countries became rice exporters, or at least self-sufficient during the Green Revolution period, they have become major rice importers again. So people are really worried about the availability of rice in these countries. So therefore, the Philippine government requested United Nations for designating this year the International Year of Rice. And the United Nations accepted such a request from the Philippine government, partly because of the stagnant rice production in Asia, and partly because the increasing importance of rice in Africa. While about 90% of rice is grown and consumed in Asia, the demand is rapidly increasing in Africa. Rice consumption in Africa is really growing fast, but rice production is also growing very rapidly in Africa. Because of the population pressure, there remains only small areas for further expansion of the cultivation areas in Africa. That includes marshy areas along the rivers. So people are now encroaching to uncultivated areas, which is massive. And this area is very suitable for rice. This is why rice production is really increasing in Africa. But productivity of rice is very, very, very low in Africa. If the productivity remains low, then the growing demand will create problems such as rice imports from other countries and so on. And this gloomy prospect for growing imbalance of rice supply and demand in Africa as well as in Asia to some extent is a serious concern for achieving millennial goal of cutting in half the number of hungry people by year 2015. In order to reduce hunger and poverty, rice production needs to be increased in Africa as well as in Asia.
What kind of projects are planned for this year, and what kind of results do they expect?
Rice is very cheap. Therefore, policymakers and ordinary people tend to think that we have enough rice. We don't have to worry. As a result, international support for rice research has been declining. But we should not be quiet about the current situation, because if the current trend continues, there will be food shortages in future. So, in my understanding, it is precisely the purpose of the International Year of Rice to remind people that we are still facing the serious issues of food shortages and hunger in many parts of the developing world. Since Japan is only one advanced country having rice culture, its role in the International Year of Rice is critically important. And the good news is the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry and Fishery of Japan will organize the International Rice Research Conference in Japan in November this year as a part of the event of the International Year of Rice. I hope this kind of activity will stimulate further discussions on this important topic. Thank you very much.